Alright, so Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3 and 4 have landed on Disney Plus like 10 days ago, but I'm going to talk about them now. So let's start off right now with episode 3. Just to let you know, these are going to have spoilers in them, so you've been warned. So episode 3 picks up right where episode 2 left off, with Bucky and Sam going to see Zemo. And as promised, episode 3 brings Daniel Bruhl back into the fold with Sam and Bucky. He returns as Zemo, and we get a pretty good interaction between Bucky and Zemo as Bucky approaches him in his prison cell. And he starts saying the old code words of the Winter Soldier, and Bucky's like, "Those don't work on me anymore." And Zemo's like, "I know, I just wanted to see how the new you reacted to the old words." And it was really cool to see these guys back together since Civil War. You could feel the kind of tensity that was in the room at the moment, and I really enjoyed the interaction we get between Bucky and Zemo in this first scene, where Bucky then breaks Zemo out of prison by giving Sam a hypothetical. What if all of these steps happened that contributed in Zemo's breaking out of prison? And then behind Bucky and Sam, Zemo appears. And reluctantly, Sam agrees to have Zemo help Bucky and Sam find where these super soldier serums have come from that the Flag Smashers now possess. Which leads us to our next revelation from episode 3, that Zemo is in fact very rich. He is a baron. He is basically royalty in his country of Sokovia before the Avengers smashed it to bits. He's got all these cars, he's got a private jet that he takes Bucky and Sam on, and they're on their way to this place of Madripoor. Madripoor is a lawless city that used to be a pirate village back in the 1800s, but since the blip, it is now reactivated its lawless society, and they have to put on this act. So Zemo has Bucky act like the Winter Soldier again. And this was definitely the best part of episode 3, was seeing Zemo mixed with Sam and Bucky and seeing all three of those characters interact. I love the scene where they're on the jet and Bucky has his notebook there with all the people he has to make amends to, and Zemo gets a hand on that notebook. And Sam mentions that that's the same notebook that Captain America had from the Winter Soldier, and they're talking about the music that Sam recommended that Cap listened to, and Bucky's like, "Yeah, I liked it." And they're like, "What? You didn't love it?" Like, I love seeing the characters kind of weirdly bond, or as close to bonding as we get over that interaction in the jet. So in Madripoor, they're looking for this lady called Selby. So Zemo takes them to a bar where someone kind of comes and confronts Zemo. So Zemo has Bucky act like the Winter Soldier, and Bucky just snaps right back into his Winter Soldier persona. He takes on all these guys as Zemo. You can tell he's really enjoying himself. He's commanding Bucky, or commanding Bucky. Everyone else thinks he's commanding the Winter Soldier, but Bucky's just putting on this act. And you can tell Zemo's like, "Yeah, I like having control of this guy, even if it is pretend." So they meet up with Selby, and of course the deal goes horribly wrong when Sam gets a phone call from his sister. They ask him to put it on speaker, and he's like trying to act as if she's talking about a different situation than she is, because she's calling about the boat that they have to still figure out the whole ownership of from the first episode. And at one point they talk about the bank, and Sam's like, "Yeah, the bank, we stole so much money from the bank." It all looks like it's about to work out until his sister says his name, Sam, and the lady's like, "Who's Sam? Kill them." But before they get to kill them, the lady gets killed herself, and that puts Bucky, Sam, and Zemo on a very high bounty list, as they are now basically in John Wick 3. This gave major John Wick vibes, and then you find out that the person that directed this episode or wrote this episode also worked on the John Wick film, so it totally makes sense why this felt this way. But this felt like it just went full on into the John Wick universe. Zemo, Bucky, and Sam are escaping from Madripoor, and they run into Sharon Carter. She is now outlawed. She is no longer allowed back in the United States, because in Civil War, when she stole Cap's shield and Falcon's wing, she became an enemy of the state. And Sharon Carter didn't get blipped, so when Sam returned from the blip, he was no longer on the run with Captain America, but Sharon Carter has been on the run for 5 years. And she's completely changed her character. She's completely changed her views of heroship. She very much sees heroship as hypocrisy. She is living a scoundrel's life. She's selling stolen artwork. And this was the part of the episode that both intrigued me the most and I didn't buy into the most. I liked the whole thing with Sharon Carter and how she didn't get to escape like Sam did when he got dusted and come back to a world 5 years later where he's kind of more accepted. She was still on the run. She hasn't talked to her family. She's been out of the States for years and she feels like she can never return. But I didn't buy into the character acting that way. I think it was maybe the actress's performance. I felt kind of bad. I don't really like to judge acting all that much, but it just felt like she couldn't pull off that kind of character with Sharon Carter. I don't know. What did you guys think? Because I had a really hard time buying into that Sharon Carter character transition. But with Sharon Carter's help, Bucky, Sam, and Zemo find out that the Super Soldier Serum was from this Power Broker character who the Flag Smashers stole the serum from. And we also learn in this episode that the Power Broker wants that serum back from the Flag Smashers, and he's after Carly, the head of the Flag Smashers, as well. We also get a little bit more with Carly in this episode. We see that she has kind of like this mother figure, a mentor that's on her deathbed named Mama Danya. And we just get a little bit more sentimental moments with Carly and the Flag Smashers in this episode. But Sharon Carter agrees to help the guys find out where the Super Soldier Serum came from, and that leads to them going to this club where we get the breakout star of this whole series, the Zemo dance scene. This one moment in the show of Zemo fist pumping became so popular. The Marvel official YouTube channel put out of like 1 hour footage of just Zemo dancing over and over and over again. It was even trending on Twitter a couple days ago, released the Zemo cut. It was so funny to see this scene just like take off into the stratosphere. And Daniel Brühl dancing just became this big pop culture moment from the show. From there, they find out information that the scientist, I think his name's Nagel, who made the Super Soldier Serum, is hiding out. So Sharon Carter gets them their location, and they go and they interrogate this guy. And we find out that the Super Soldier Serum was actually almost complete, but then Nagel dusted. So 5 years later, when he returned, his funding for the Super Soldier Serum was no longer around. So this Power Broker guy asked him to finish off the Super Soldier Serum. And then once they get the information out of them, Zemo full on just shoots and kills the guy because he's like, oh, you invented the one thing that I really don't want in this world. Well, I don't want you to do that again. So he just shoots this guy. There's a big shootout knife fight, which the action again in this show just looks so good. It's so awesome. It's so well shot. And Zemo escapes with Bucky, Sam, and Sharon. And they escape, and we find out at the very end of this episode that Bucky is being trailed by one of the Wakandians, and the Wakandans, as mentioned by Sam earlier on in this episode, Zemo blew up the UN building that killed the king of Wakanda, and the Wakandians did not forget, and so they are here to take Zemo in. And that brings us into episode 4. This episode starts off with Bucky in Wakanda as he is being healed from his mind control, and we see the Wakandian lady using the words that activate the Winter Soldier on Bucky, and he's resisting. And as he finds out that the words no longer have an effect on him, he just starts weeping and crying. And this was probably Sebastian Stan's best performance throughout the entire MCU as the character of Bucky. You could feel his pain, and you could feel just his relief and his release of freedom as he is no longer under these words of control. So from there, we catch back up with him in the Wakandian, and he is given 8 hours to do what he has to do with Zemo, as he tells the Wakandian he's a means to an end, and she's like, all right, but you have 8 hours, and then we're coming to get him. So Sam, Bucky, and Zemo find out Mama Danya has passed away and that there's going to be a funeral held later. So they go out to find information about where this funeral is going to be, and the only person who can get information out of someone is Zemo. Using Turkish delight on this group of children, he is able to get them to tell him where the funeral is going to be and when it's going to be, and he holds that information hostage against Sam and Bucky to make sure that he is able to go there. But who finds Sam, Bucky, and Zemo? Well, none other than the new Cap himself, John Walker. John Walker is on the trail of Bucky and Sam as he has found out that they broke Zemo out of prison. He finds them on their little journey, and he tags along to this funeral. And when they get there, he wants to go in guns blazing. He wants to take the Flag Smashers down, but Sam's like, hey, before Cap found me, this was my job. I talked to people who went through post-traumatic stress disorder like this Carly person's going through. And we get this really awesome scene, not in a fight sequence choreography type way, but like Sam using his skills outside of the Avengers as he goes in to talk with Carly and just talk with her. Like, he literally just wants to hear her point. He's given her a little bit of a counseling session without her knowledge of it. And Sam even tells her like, hey, I'm all for your cause. I'm just not for the way that you're going about it. And it's actually a really good conversation between the two. But of course, who has to ruin it but that new Captain America, John Walker, just can't hold his temper. He's just goes right into that room as Sam's about to make a breakthrough with Carly, and he just starts throwing fists and throwing that shield and ruining the whole operation. Carly now thinks that Sam and Bucky are working with the new Captain America. So there's this big fight that breaks out, and Zemo chases down one of the Flag Smashers who has all the super soldier serum, and Zemo looks at them and is like, is this what I think it is? He starts breaking all of the tubes that have the super soldier serum in them until that John Walker, Captain America, comes and knocks him out. And of course, John Walker finds the one super soldier serum vial that wasn't broken by Zemo, and he picks it up and he saves it for a little bit later. So back at Bucky, Sam, and Zemo's headquarters, the Dormilaji from Wakanda break into the room and they're like, it's time to give us Zemo. And of course, that freaking John Walker, Captain America, just goes up to them and is like, hey, I'm Captain America. I'm pretty sure you don't have jurisdiction here. And that one girl looks at him and is just like, the Dormilaji has jurisdiction, wherever the Dormilaji find themselves to be. And the big fight breaks out in this room, and of course Zemo uses this time of chaos and distraction to make his escape, and John Walker gets his butt completely beat by all these Dormilajis to the point that when he is on the ground, he is defeated, and he's like, they weren't even super soldiers. Like, I couldn't even take on these group of people that weren't even full of that super soldier serum. And then we get that conversation between him and Lamar, and he's talking with them, and he's talking about like, hey, remember Afghanistan? And like, would you take the super soldier serum if you could? And his friend's like, oh, heck yeah, I'd take the super soldier serum. Could you imagine all of the lives we could have saved in Afghanistan if we had that serum? And you can start to see the gears in John Walker's head kind of going like, yeah, like, Cap's the only thing that really feels right, and all he wants to do is good. And that is the moment you know that he took that super soldier serum. Like, it never shows in the episode him taking the serum until the end part where he starts doing super soldier stuff. But it's that moment, it's that conversation right there that really, he tips his way. He goes to full on, like, I'm going to take the super soldier serum. He's no longer on the fence about it. And I really like what they're doing with the character of John Walker. He's becoming a villain, but he's becoming a villain with depth. He's becoming a villain that feels like he's doing the right thing. All he wants to do is the right thing, and in that strong desire to do whatever it takes to do the right thing, he's almost doing the wrong thing. But we're gonna get to that in a little bit. And now we find out that Carly has threatened Sam's sister. She has called Sam's sister and has told her where to tell Sam to meet her. And she says to tell Sam to come alone to this meeting. And of course, Bucky's like, hey, we're a package deal, man. I'm coming with you. And Carly kind of gives Sam one last chance to join her. And of course, he refuses. He ain't joining her cause. So, of course, John Walker has to come in again, ruin the whole thing, and this big fight once again breaks out between him and the Flag Smashers, except this one ends totally differently because one of the Flag Smashers kills Lamar, throws Lamar against this pillar, against this wall, and the big illusion is that he is dead. The episode is totally telling us that Lamar has died. As John Walker goes up to him, he's like, Lamar, and he's like shaking his face, he's like, Lamar, wake up. This is the moment of the series that changes everything, because once Lamar is presumably dead, John Walker loses his... He lets his emotions take over, let's say, and this is when he starts chasing down the Flag Smasher with a vengeance, and we see that he has taken the super soldier serum. That guy holds up a pipe to try to defend himself from him, and he bends it in half. He jumps out the window, he does a superhero landing. He's doing things that are physically incapable of a normal human being. He is totally on super soldier serum, and he chases this Flag Smasher outside to this big crowd of people, and he's got the Flag Smasher on the ground, and the Flag Smasher's like, hey, it wasn't me, I didn't kill your friend, I didn't do it. And John Walker takes that Cap shield and raises it above his head and just starts pounding this guy in the face. And the blood starts coming on the hand. The hand falls down on the ground. The guy is dead. John Walker has that shield. He's holding it on his arm with this just the whole scene is just haunting. As you see Bucky and Sam come out and they just stand in awestruck of what John Walker's just done. Everyone around John Walker have all their phones out. They're recording the thing. John Walker's standing there with Cap's legendary shield half covered in blood. This innocent man's blood. And the episode ends. And whoa, what a way to end your episode. And what a way for this John Walker guy to be at a crossroads now. Because in my opinion, I don't think he's gone full villain yet. His emotions took over. He did a really bad thing. he has to be held accountable for it. But this is the moment where John Walker in this series is either going to be, I made a mistake, I'm wrong, or he's going to go full in and he's going to be the villain. And I would like to see John Walker, I like seeing the John Walker character right now have this complexity to him. He just wants to do good. He's nervous about being the new Cap. He understands the responsibilities on his shoulder. He doesn't go into the new responsibility lightly. And up until this point, I have not seen John Walker as a bad guy. He works for the government. Sam and Bucky, they're free agents. They're kind of working outside the law. So he is the law. He has to come in there and he has to kind of hold their reins a little bit when they go too far. I've liked the character of John Walker. He's actually my favorite character in the show. I don't agree with everything that he does, but he's my favorite character in the show so far because he has such a deep depth to him. And I'm so interested and so curious to see where he goes from here because this is a pivotal point not only for his character but for the entire show. I'll be honest, I haven't been like super hyped about the Falcon and Winter Soldier shows coming out these past few weeks. That might be why it's taken me so long to even talk about them. When I watched the episode, I'm just always like, yeah, it was enjoyable, it had a couple good moments, but I never really feel like there's much to talk about in the episode. Episode 4 is where I'm really starting to get like deeply invested in the show. I want to see where the politics go. I want to see what happens with the Flag Smashers, with this Carly girl. I want to see how her story ends. And I'm really curious to see where they go with the legacy of the Shield moving forward and where John Walker goes. I will say this though, Lamar Battlestar better be dead now because if he's not dead and John Walker just killed this guy out of vengeance but his buddy didn't actually die, that makes this whole situation a lot worse for John Walker and in my eyes for the character as well. So if they do a Marvel fake death thing where Lamar just kind of like wakes up and is like, oh, I was knocked out, couldn't hear you, John Walker, what I miss, oh, that's a dead guy, then I think it kind of ruins that moment just a little bit for John Walker because the vengeance isn't exactly as justified as it was before. But with only 2 episodes left of the show to go, there seems like a lot that they have to wrap up. So I'm really curious to see how they do it. I'm a little bit pessimistic. I feel like the show isn't going to wrap up as satisfactory as I want it to, but I'm going into it optimistic. I hope that they can really pull this off. And I'm really curious to see what they do with episode 5 and episode 6. What did you guys think of the episodes and what do you guys think of the show thus far? Comment down below, let me know. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And guys, I will see you again for episode 5 and possibly episode 6 if I combine those 2 again, depending on my schedule. Thank you so much for your patience on this video. Thank you for joining me to talk about episode 3 and episode 4 of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really appreciate it, guys. As always, guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Once again, my name is Zachary Milne. Thank you for talking movies with me, and I hope you have yourself a great day.